On the whole, this organic farming, what it says is, in simple words, producing the products, edible products, the food products under natural systems. Natural systems in the sense, without using pesticides, fertilizers, or hormones or allopathic medicines. At the same time, synergizing with the ecology around it, like soil enrichment, taking care of the weather around it, taking care of the water around it. So it should be an ecological approach rather than a food production approach. When we talk of organic, it envisages everything that is required for production of these food crops or animal products. So IFARM is a international organization which broadly oversees the organic product. It defined what organic farming is. It has defined it in a very holistic way, wherein it says that it is a production system that sustains the health of soil, ecosystem, and people all together. It also takes care of the ecosystem around it and the people concerned with it. So their health and all, everything is covered in this organic definition. It relies on ecological processes, biodiversity, and cycles adapted to local conditions prevailing in that particular country or region. And it combines tradition, innovation, and science. It is not just a tradition, it is a science as well. People say organic production is a traditional practice and all. As in India, our ancestors, they all followed organic systems of production. But in the last maybe 50, 60 years, 100 years, we have changed the systems. We have gone to very intensive production systems, very high yielding varieties have come, and we have gone for fertilizer usage, pesticide usage, and all. Now we are, once we attained self-sufficiency in production, now we are thinking of quality again. When we think of quality again, the previous systems of production have come into picture. That is organic production, producing in tune with the nature. That is preserving the wellness of the soil as well, and along with its environment around. So this is what organic is broadly called as. So why should we go for organic foods? We should go for organic foods because when India got independence, we were not self-sufficient for foods, especially cereal grains. That time we were depending on imports for each day-to-day requirements. Then came the grain revolution, wherein we imported high-yielding varieties, improved the production systems, and now we are self-sufficient in production systems, and quantity-wise we are self-sufficient. Once we are self-sufficient in terms of quality, now the concept of once we are self-sufficient in quantities, now the concept of quality has come in. When we talk of quality again, the food which gives us good health, which sustains our health, which sustains the health of the soil and the health of the ecosystem as well. After attaining self-sufficient in quantities, now it is the term of quality. Quality covers organic food production. When we want good food, it has to be produced organically. So if you see the organic production systems world over, this is not new to anybody. These organic production systems are followed worldwide. Every continent, every country almost has their own systems of organic production. All the continents have their regulations and rules. If we see the organic production area-wise, Australia almost covers 50% of total organic area in the world. That means organic area-wise, Australia is the number one continent or country, whatever it is. Then, if you see the number of farmers who are following organic production practices, India comes number one. It is far ahead of this number two itself. Though we are number one in terms of number of farmers following organic production systems, area is very minimal in our country because our unit holdings are very less. Farmlands holdings are very less. So the total area covered under organic in India is still comparatively less, though we are ahead of many countries. But compared to the number of farmers involved in organic production, the area covered under organic production is comparatively less in India. If you see the organic markets, when we compare the organic hectareage area covered under organic production system, when we compare it with the 1999 and 2019 over a period of 20 years, initially In 1999, it was 11 million hectares. And by the end of 2019, it increased to almost 72.3 million hectares, almost sevenfold increase. In terms of percentage of organic area as a percentage of total agriculture area, in 99 it was 0.3% only. Only 0.3% of total agriculture land was under organic cultivation. Now in 2019, it increased fivefolds. That means almost 500% increase. It reached almost 1.5% of the total agriculture land is under organic production now in the world. In terms of its market value, in 2000 it was around $18 billion. Now in 2019 it came to $112 billion. If you see, this is a huge increase. So the organic market share is fast increasing world over, and this is a welcome sign for the organic farmers. If we see the major markets in organic production, United States, almost 44 billion euros. This is the major market for organic products in the world. And if we see per capita spending on organic products country-wise, if we see, Denmark ranks number 1. There, almost every person per year spends 344 rupees on organic products. So these are the pictures regarding organic market world over. Coming to situation in the year 2020. By 2020, world over, there are 72 countries with fully implemented organic regulations of their own. They formulated their own regulations, standards and all. They are following. 72 countries are already done. And 22 countries are in the process of doing it. They have not fully implemented. They have formulated and they are in the process of implementation. And 14 countries are in the process of drafting their standards and regulations. Coming to major developments in 2020, US, though they had their own standards, now they are revising to bring more and more people into organic fold. And after Brexit, UK is making their own regulations and their own negotiations for organic production systems. Taiwan bilateral agreements, 5 of they have signed these this year. And one thing is, earlier India had recognition for US. I mean, accreditation was recognized. Now they have terminated. They have their own accreditation system for organic production in India. That agreement was terminated last year. And PGS system, we will discuss what PGS system is, and more countries are adopting PGS system of organic production these days. More number of countries are coming into this PGS certification fold. Coming to domestic market, in the last 10 years, if we see, domestic organic market is growing almost at 20 to 25% growth rate. This is a phenomenal growth rate as far as other commodities are concerned. And this shows that people are getting inclined towards organic production systems, and consumers are more and more getting inclined towards organic products. Coming to this COVID situation, for the last 1.5 to 2 years, the entire world is facing this COVID-19. But for organic, because of this COVID-19, people are getting more and more interested towards their health and the kind of foods they eat. So this has increased the importance of organic products. The market for organic products has increased due to COVID-19. This is a welcome sign, though we should not say that it is good, but for organic products, this has definitely helped it. And in India also, informal market channels are getting established, in the sense, B-class towns are also now selling organic products in the market. So this market segment is increasing. Producer to consumer market is also increasing. Some farmers are producing and directly selling it to the consumers, avoiding the middlemen, so that producer gets a better price and the consumer also gets a better price. This market segment is also increasing. Even in local markets also, now we see some organic vegetables and fruits being sold. This is a welcome sign again. Now, Government of India, after formation of this new Animal Husbandry and Fisheries Ministry, is focusing very much on organic livestock production. There is a special emphasis to bring more and more people into organic production systems. This is a opportunity for people, those who want to take up organic livestock production in the days to come. If you see the organic production in India in the year 2020 and 21, we will discuss later, but there are two different systems of organic certification and production systems in India. That is, one is the NPOP system of certification and the other is PGS India certification. We'll discuss what these systems are. But if you see the production in the last 1 year, that means 2020 and 21, total area covered under NPOP certification is almost 44 lakh hectares. And the total production was 35 lakh tons in the year. And the total farmers involved under NPOP certification were 16 lakhs almost. And out of this, India exported 8.8 lakh tons of organic produce to different countries. Though there was huge problem with transportation and all due to lockdown, the export quantities were tremendous during this last 1 year. And this volume was almost 7,078 crores of worth we exported during 2020 and 21. Under PGS system, there were almost 42,000 groups as on 2 days back, 20th September of this month. There were almost 42,000 groups under PGS system under organic certification, involving almost 12 lakh farmers, covering an area of 7.5 lakh hectares. Coming to demographic structure, top 5 states in organic farm production in 2021 and 2021. These pictures are regarding NPOP organic production systems. Madhya Pradesh tops in terms of organic production, then followed by Maharashtra, Karnataka, Rajasthan, and Uttar Pradesh. Top 5 commodities produced are oil seeds, cotton fiber, then sugar, cereals and millets, followed by spices and condiments. Top 5 commodities exported were processed foods, oil seeds, cereals and millets, spices and condiments, then tea. When we exported, the top export destinations for our products in the last 2 years were USA was the top destination for our products for export, European Union, followed by Canada, Great Britain, and Australia. If we see these pictures, our organic livestock products don't figure anywhere in this list. So there is time for us to look into this aspect and see that all the veterinarians probably we have a crucial role in educating the people to go for organic livestock production and producing organic milk, meat, eggs, and all, then target the export possibilities. This is a huge scope for all the organic livestock production. There is a reason why these organic products are not there in this list. This is because organic guidelines were initially formulated in the year 2001 itself. Then a comprehensive combined standards were formulated in 2002. That time, organic livestock guidelines were very little vague. They were directly copied from IFOAM, and they were not directly suiting to our Indian conditions. So till 2016-17, no takers for organic livestock production. Organic crop production, people were following, they are producing organic crops, fruits, vegetables and all, but nobody was taking up organic livestock production. In 2017, Government of India thought to revise these standards to suit our Indian conditions so that people take up organic livestock production also. That we will discuss later. Then after we revised these organic standards, now people started taking up, and last 2-3 years, people are showing interest into organic livestock production and all. The segment is growing day by day. A growth in the Indian market is almost exports are growing at 20% year on year, and domestic market almost 22 to 25% organic market is growing. Organic livestock trade in the year 2019-20. 2021 figures I don't have completely as on date, but the 2021 figures, as the indications come, they are almost double, more than doubled in 1 year. In 1920, domestically, 16,000 metric tons of milk was produced organically, certified organic, and 400 metric tons of ghee was produced. Out of that, 1,500 kilograms of ghee was exported also. This is the beauty of it. Within 1 year, 2 years of introduction of organic livestock standards, we not only produced huge quantities, we started exporting these products also. Probably this shows a very good sign for organic livestock production in the days to come. Under PGS system, there were already 25 groups registered involving almost 2,500 farmers. Under this organic milk and ghee were produced. When I say organic, these are all certified. Certified milk and ghee were produced. Major states who were involved in organic livestock production were UP, Madhya Pradesh, and Himachal Pradesh. Even under NPOP also in the year 1920, three farmers have gone for organic meat production. Almost 93 people have gone for organic milk certification. 3 poultry farmers also registered for this. This is within a year of within 1.5 to 2 years, people have shown interest. So probably in the years to come, these numbers are. Is it visible?
It is visible, sir. Because there was a network fluctuation at your end, sir. That's why we lost.
Okay. It is visible. So, what my message to all the veterinarians who are there, when people come to you with something like I have organic meat or organic milk or organic egg, we should be able to clearly tell them if they are not certified, they are not supposed to call their product as organic. They may call it by different name, whatever they call. But unless they have this certification logo on their product, if they call their product as organic, they are illegal. Let us be very clear and let us educate people on this, please. So certification means a farmer who is producing organically, maybe meat, milk or whatever, if he is producing and selling it to a consumer, he can do so. If he is a nearby consumer, he can produce and supply it to the consumer. But if he wants to have a wider market where people cannot come and see his production practices to convince themselves that yes, he is following organic norms and all. To reach a wider market, some third person has to come and see and certify his production systems so that his product is guaranteed and so that he is allowed to use the organic logo and he can market his product produced to anywhere in the country and if it is certified under NPOP anywhere in the world. So this is what for certification is. Anybody can produce organically, but unless he is certified, he cannot have that logo. He cannot sell it to a wider market. Maybe some people really may be following all the organic guidelines and all, but they will be able to cater to the people who are around them. But they will not be able to cater to the people who are far behind, far away. Maybe somebody producing organically in Hyderabad may not be able to reach to the people who are in Delhi. If there is a certification system involved, once his product is labeled as organic by certification agency, he can have a wider access to the market. That is the purpose of certification. So why should we, as I said, why should we go for certification? To have a wider market. Unless you are certified, you are not officially called as organic. Once you are certified, you can access any number of markets wherever it is. In the certification process, third-party assurance from producer to consumer. Producer is somewhere and consumer is somewhere. This certification connects them so that there is a trust between them. And with certification, one can use the label uniformly. And it assures the consumer that its concern for healthy food has been addressed. In the sense, I need not go and see the practices of the farmer and I can be assured once it is certified. As I said, effective marketing tool for image creation, credibility, visibility, and transparency comes with certification itself. With certification, what happens is, it is a win-win situation for both the producer as well as the consumer. What consumer wants is, consumer requires healthy and environmentally sound product, and is willing to pay premium for this product which is produced and under environmentally sound conditions. At the same time, producer also is providing producing is produced as per the organic standards, and he gets access to premium price markets. So this is a win-win situation between them, and it creates trust between these two people, producer and the consumer. This is what certification is for. And when we say certification, what is this certification? Who does this certification? And how to get this certification done? Broadly, in India, we have two different systems of certification. One is NPOP certification. This is National Program for Organic Production. NPOP certification. This involves third party, where third party comes and inspects your farm He sees whether you are following all the standards for organic production or not. Once he is satisfied, he certifies your product. Once he certifies, you are eligible to use this organic logo, and you can market it anywhere in the country and the world. The other system is participatory guarantee system. That is PGS system, what we call. In this system, there is no third party involved. Here, in this PGS system of certification, a group of farmers can come together and they inspect each other under the control of PGS secretariat under the government, which has secretariat at Ghaziabad, then zonal councils. We have regional council, different regional councils in different states. Under their guidance, some cluster groups are formed. The group of farmers, minimum number of 5 members is required in a group. So these farmers come together. They follow all the organic guidelines and produce their product. They certify, they go and review each other's production systems. They certify each other. And they, at the end of the day, they guarantee that we have followed all the guidelines and we have produced organically. This is the participatory guarantee system, wherein no third party comes and inspects. The group members, what we call as peer group inspects each other, then they certify it themselves. This is what is called participatory guarantee system. These are two different systems. Under NPOP certification, as I said, third party comes and inspects you. Participatory guarantee system is local group based certification system. In organic certification, there are 4 key elements. That is, first is accreditation, then standards, inspection, and certification. When I say accreditation, as I said, when a farmer wants to go for organic certification, he has to approach a certification agency. This certification agency is further accredited by either NPOP or PGS secretariat. NPOP secretariat is with APIDA, NAB, what we call National Accreditation Board. This National Accreditation Board accreditates some agencies based on their qualification and all to go for inspection and certifying the farmers for their production. In case of PGS system, as I said, NCOF, National Center for Organic Farming, they have different levels of functionaries. We have 9 zonal councils spread over the country. Then almost now we have 50 to 51 regional councils. These regional councils in each state, they form different farmer groups. These farmer groups, they produce their product as per organic norms. Then they peer review within themselves. Then they give guarantee on, they sign the pledge and guarantee that we have, give the guarantee that they have produced as per organic standards. These produce is under PGS system. So all these systems go through accreditation. The accreditation in the sense the person who certifies, they are accredited by the secretariats. Then once these accreditation bodies are done, they have to follow some standards. These standards are followed, framed for different categories. Organic standards for crops are different. Organic standards for livestock, organic standards for beekeeping, organic standards for wild harvest. There are different types of standards. We are concerned with organic standards for livestock. We'll be discussing further on these standards. Standards are framed for all the production systems. Formed by APIDA under NSOP, National Standards for Organic Production. These are followed by NPOP as well as PGS systems. Then once these standards are framed, these accreditation bodies, following these standards, they go and inspect the farmer. They see whether these farmers are following these standards or not. If they are following, they will permit them to use the organic logo. They certify them, and they can, these farmers now then they can use the logo for their marketing of products. Otherwise, they will reject. They are not supposed to use logo. This inspection is done by accreditation agents. Then once these farmers are following all the norms, the certification is given to the farmers. These are the 4 key elements in organic certification process. First, accreditation of the certifying bodies by the central secretariats, then standards framing for different categories, then inspection by these accreditation agencies, then certification. This is the process followed. As I said, what is this accreditation? In the sense, it guarantees that the certifying agency is competent to carry out specific tasks. That is, inspection and certification of the farmers. Authoritative body defines policies, standards, and checks whether a certification system is operating according to standards. These certification bodies also have to follow their norms. They have to. There are standards issued to them. They also have to go through these standards. Different countries have different accreditation programs. World over, there are IFOM systems of accreditation. In India, we have NPOP systems. In US, they have NOP systems of accreditation. In Japan, we have JS systems of accreditation. Different countries have their own accreditation systems. Coming to standards, as I said, they define the production methods, not the product quality. Entire organic certification is for our production process, not the product. Let us keep this in mind. Standards are just a guidelines. Entire process is certified. Process, whether you are following all these standards in your production process or not. This is what inspection agencies look at. And these are all minimum requirements. You can have a better conditions than this, but these standards specify the minimum requirements to be followed. And these standards can be revised based on the inputs from the farmers and accreditation agencies. This is a dynamic system. From time to time, based on the demands from the producers and the consumers, they can be developed and improved upon. These standards can be international, national, or regular, regional, like IFOM. They are applicable worldwide, and our NPOP national level, like this. There can be international standards, national standards, and regional standards as well. And coming to inspection, as I said, the accreditation body comes and visits your farm. They see whether you are following all the standards or not. They make on-site visit to verify that the performance of an operation is in accordance with the specific standards, whether it's for livestock or crops or whatever. Evaluation and verification of production, processing, and trading protocols being followed or not, they check. Then inspection requires complete documentation by producers, processors, and handlers. This is the very crucial things. When they come for inspection, they inspect your farm production processes, and majorly they will check your production records. Everything has to be in black and white when you are going for organic certification. Once the inspection is done, these inspection agencies present their report to the certifiers. Based on the satisfaction, whether you are following all the norms, standards or not, the certification decision will be made. If you are following all the norms, certification is issued immediately. If there is some deficiencies, they will ask you to improve upon. Then once you conform to these improvements, then certification will be given. So this is called certification process. Then once you are certified, you are entitled to use the logo. What for this logo? This logo gives for easy recognition of organic quality and certification system. If you are following PGS system of certification, a different logo has to be there on your produce. If you are following NPOP system of production, you have to have a different logo on your produce. Based on the logo, the consumer will be able to identify which system of certification you have gone through. This confirms the fulfillment of label regulations and legal rules. Others are not allowed to use these logos. Only people who are authorized, whose produce is certified by the accreditation agency, they are only entitled to use these logos. Once these logos are there in your produce, you are likely to get a better price for your product. These logos are, if you are following organic, PGS system of certification, as I said, there are two systems of certification. One is PGS system, participatory guarantee system. The other is NPOP system of certification. If you are following PGS system, these logos, if your farm is under conversion to organic, it is not fully converted, but if it is under conversion, you can use this PGS India green logo on your produce. When you are marketing your product, you can use this logo, PGS India green. Once your farm has completed the conversion period, and if it is completely organic, then you can use this PGS India organic. Once you complete your certification, conversion period is completed, then you can go for this thing. This Jaivik Bharat logo you are supposed to use because this is mandated by FSSAI. When you are selling any organic produce, this Jaivik Bharat logo is invariably required on your logo. This represents that you are registered with FSSAI. Then the lower one is India Organic logo. If you are certified under NPOP system of certification, this India Organic logo you are supposed to use. Along with that, again, FSSAI logo, that is Jaivik Bharat logo, you are supposed to use. In case of PGS Green, you are not supposed to use Jaivik Bharat because it is not fully organic. It is still under conversion. So only completely converted organic only you are supposed to use this PGS, Jaivik Bharat logo. So my request to all of you is, when consumer goes, you educate the people that when consumer wants to purchase an organic product, unless there is this logo on this, either Jaivik PGS logo or NPOP logo, if it is not there, it is not certified. It is not officially organic. Let us make people aware of this, please. Because there are so many products in the market saying organic, so many things. Unless this is there, they are not organic. Now let us come to our national standards for organic production for livestock. Livestock standards, when we say, this includes all the species. Livestock standards for dairy cattle for milk production, sheep and goat, poultry, pig, everything is included in this. Livestock standards are combined standards for all the species. We will now discuss them in context of our sheep and goat. Though they are uniform for all the species, we will discuss in the context of sheep and goat further. What are these standards? Coming to livestock production system in India, if we see the SWOT analysis, strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and strength in the sense, in our sheep and goat sector, majority of production systems are extensive in the country. So with little effort, those who are really interested in organic production, with little efforts, probably we can completely convert them into organic, because we are not used to completely intensive system. Many those intensive farms are coming up. The people who are into extensive system, probably they can think of converting their farms into organic farms. Without much effort, they can comfortably come into the fold of organic certification. Weakness is, there are different issues in this. The awareness level among the farmers is very less about organic production and certification process. That is the major weakness. We have to educate people about what organic is, how to go for certification and all. This is the major weakness. And feed issue is an issue once they start organic production, livestock production. Opportunity is, as we see, we have huge exports of buffalo meat now. We export to the tune of 25 to 30,000 crores worth buffalo meat to different countries. Probably in sheep and goat sector also, once we become self-sufficient in our requirement, once we achieve, probably once we go for intensive production and all, once we achieve our self-sufficiency, we can think of exports as well. Even domestic market is also a good opportunity for us. Young people who are interested, who are really passionate about organic production, this is the opportunity. This is the budding stage for organic livestock production. For people who take up organic production now, probably will become market leaders in the coming days. The threat for organic sheep and goat production is, the threat not only for organic, entire sheep and goat sector will be under threat if you don't take a bold decision to reform our production systems, because these age-old systems of production are no way going to take us anywhere. Probably we have to reform our production systems of organic sheep and goat, and a part of it can be organic production systems. Otherwise, there is huge threat for entire sheep and goat sector itself. So as I said, in 2000 till 2017, there were no takers. Though the regulation standards were framed in the year 2002 itself, there were no takers. Though crop production was going on in full swing, organic crop production, people were taking up, certification was going. 2017-18, no takers for organic livestock production, because these standards which we have taken from IFOAM, they were not exactly suiting to our own requirements in India. There were international standards, and our people were facing difficulty in implementing those standards. So Government of India thought to revise these standards to suit to our Indian conditions. Based on that, they formed a committee. I was also a part of that committee to revise these organic livestock standards. We revised them in 2017, and they were gazetted in the year 2018. Then to the last 2-3 years, these standards are being implemented. Even accreditation bodies were also not coming forward to certify it, because there are no takers. Once they are accredited for certification of livestock products also, there are no takers. So nobody was coming forward to even take up the certification agency also. In the 2018, there were only 2 certification agencies in India. Whoever in the country wanted to take up organic sheep and goat production, there were nobody to certify. There were initially only 2 people in 2 agencies in 2008. Now we have almost 7 to 8 people, agencies who have come forward to organic livestock certification. So the numbers are growing, and this is a good sign for organic livestock producers who are interested to take up especially sheep and goat production under organic systems. Now, in the last 2-3 years only, after revision of the guidelines, now people are coming forward to take up organic livestock production. As we have seen the numbers, there are people taking up organic milk production, meat production. Now ghee is almost exported. Within the period of 1 to 3 years, a lot of happenings are there in organic livestock sector. So general principles in organic standards are, when we take up organic sheep and goat production especially, the breeding system should be natural breeding. We should not, though it is allowed, artificial insemination and all, especially in sheep and goat, it is not very common. Natural breeding should be encouraged. Protection of animal health and welfare is utmost important in these principles. And these animals, whenever we go for organic production with livestock, either dairy, sheep and goat, poultry, or they have to be fed with certified organic feed throughout their production period. So this is a major concern. When we go for organic livestock production, the feed that is given to them should be certified organically. Organically certified feed only is allowed to be fed to these animals. They should have access to grazing in organic fields, and they should be having freedom to express natural behavior in the stalls or during grazing. They should not be subjected to any kind of stress, and there is prohibition of use of chemically synthesized or allopathic veterinary drugs, antibiotics, hormones, growth boosters, feed additives, etc. These are all strictly not allowed in organic production systems. These are the general principles to be followed if one wants to take up organic livestock production. The central theme of this organic livestock production, especially sheep and goat, is welfare is the utmost important thing. As we say in the animal welfare, we talk of 5 freedoms. The first freedom is these animals under organic production system should be free from hunger, thirst, and malnutrition. This feeding should be taken care with utmost care. And there should be freedom from thermal and physical discomfort to the animals. There should be freedom from pain, injury, and diseases. There should be freedom to express their natural behavior. They should not be subjected to any kind of fear or distress during production, entire production system. These are the guiding principles in the entire production cycle of organic livestock production. Coming to animal management under organic production systems, we should provide sufficient free movement to the animals. They should not be restricted. Cage farming is strictly not allowed. We should provide sufficient free movement to the animals under organic production systems. Sufficient fresh air and natural daylight should be allowed. There should be protection against excessive sunlight or temperature, rain and wind. They should be protected from all these things. Enough lying and resting area should be provided. Ample access to fresh water and feed should be a major important. Adequate facilities for expressing behavior in accordance with the biological requirements of particular species. Whatever, like poultry, they should be allowed to have their express their natural behavior. Like sheep and goat, their natural behavior should be allowed. Like the species wise, whatever is their natural behavior, that should be allowed to be expressed by these animals. In poultry and rabbits, they should not be kept in cages. And most importantly, landless animal husbandry system is strictly not allowed. That is animal husbandry or poultry. We are not supposed to produce them under cage systems. Herd animals should not be kept individually. They should be reared under herds itself. In all these cases, there can be exceptions in different regions. Maybe the production systems followed in some regions may be different for different species. But the certification agencies who come for your inspection or certification should be convinced that if you are deviating from any of these things, if there is some deviation also, that will be allowed by the certification agency, but provided to give sufficient justification for such deviations. Otherwise, nothing deviation from this practices are not allowed. Coming to choice of breeds, local breeds may be preferred. Though other breeds are also allowed, preference should be given to local breeds. It does not debar all other breeds from organic production, but guidelines say that first preference should be given to the local breeds because they are resistant to different diseases, or they are acclimatized to that particular condition. So preference should be given to local breeds of that particular area. Coming to source or origin of these animals. When we first start our organic farm, where do we get these animals from? If we already have some organic farm which is certified, if we bring animals from that particular farm or facility, the animals that are brought from certified farm, they are directly they can be called directly certified animals. But if we are starting for the first time, there are no certified animals available. We cannot procure from any certified farm. If we are starting the farm for the first time, there is something called conversion period. When we starting for the first time, these animals have to undergo some conversion period from their regular production system to organic production systems. There is this period is called conversion period. This period differs from different species to species. We will see which species has which conversion period and all. Coming to housing systems. Livestock and poultry shall be maintained under natural conditions as far as, these are all general guidelines as far as animal welfare are concerned. Sufficient space to ensure free movement. The animal should not be tied unless required for specific reasons. Like in our dairy, we tie the animal during milking and all. These are all allowed. Earlier, these were not allowed. Now we can tie the animal during maybe some procedure or some treatment, or milking and all. In such conditions, it is allowed to tie the animal. Housing system shall ensure prevention of abnormal behavior or injury, so that animals are safe in the housing system. Housing conditions shall meet the biological and behavioral needs of all the livestock and poultry by providing easy access to feeding and watering, as I said in the video. Plentiful natural ventilation should be available. Fencing should be appropriate and it should not hurt the animals. Stocking density should be appropriate. Outdoor stocking density also should not be over density, so that the grazing land should be maintain its naturality. Coming to identification of animals, this is most crucial. In organic production system, each animal is identified by its number. When I say identification, each animal has to be identified with the number. It has to be entered into the TraceNet portal by the certifying agency. So if we lose that tag, this is an issue now. We have to probably debate on it, because the animals are likely to lose their tags, or tags become invisible or something. When we retag it, again, these numbers have to be replaced in the TraceNet portal. Each animal has to have unique number. With number, these animals have to be identified in the system. So tagging is very important. Their uploading in the TraceNet portal by the accreditation agency, certifying agency, is a very crucial thing. And these identification systems can be different, like RFID tags or barcodes or any other suitable thing which has a number, so that these animals are entered into the TraceNet portal and they are identified and certified. In case of birds and all, they can be identified by flock or group, but sheep and goat, each animal has to have its own identification number. Crucial thing in organic certification is entire procedure that we follow in our process of production. Everything on a day-to-day basis has to be recorded. This is crucial. This is what prevents people from entering into organic systems, because every farmer may not be well educated to keep all the records and all. Probably NPOP system, people can take up, those who are educated and all, they can keep their records on their own. In PGS system, the system of record keeping is little bit less cumbersome compared to your NPOP system. When coming to keeping of records, all the records like parent details for sourcing of these animals, records of their records, animal details, their sex, age, their parentage, breeding details, feeding details, how much feed each day we are giving, everything has to be recorded. Healthcare details also to be recorded in consultation with the local veterinarian. local veterinarian, as I said, plays very crucial role as far as the organic livestock farming is coming. Decision of the local veterinarian is very crucial as far as the health is concerned. And every certificate regarding health has to be approved by the veterinarian. Otherwise, it is not approved, it is not certified. So the discretion of the local veterinarian who is looking after that farm is very crucial. All the production details have to be recorded from time to time. When we are selling, sale details, to whom we are selling, what quantity we are selling, every record has to be maintained. Any other relevant details which are species specific, they have to be recorded as per the instructions of the certification agency. Coming to spacing, different housing spacing requirements are given for different species of livestock. For dairy animals, indoor area, outdoor area specified. We cannot have less than this space for each animal. For sheep and goat, 1.5 square meters of space is required for each animal as indoor area, and 2.5 square meters of area is required in the outdoor area. This is generally almost 50% higher than the normal requirements what we say under sheep and goat production system. Generally we say 1 square meter per animal, but in organic system the space given is almost 50% more than what is required. For other species also it is given what should be the indoor area, what should be the outdoor area. As far as sheep and goat is concerned, it is 1.5 in the indoor area and 2.5 in the outdoor area. Like that, poultry also it is given. As I said, conversion period. When we are starting the farm for the first time, these animals are not organic before, so we have to start from fresh. When they are brought from the market, they are not organic. We do not know the source of it. We do not know whether they were given antibiotics, they were given any other treatments and all. So for a certifying agency to believe that this is organic, they will give you some conversion period. Over that period, these animals have to be fed with organically certified feed. Then after this period, these animals are considered as organic. This interim period is called conversion period. The establishment of organic animal husbandry requires an interim period called as the conversion period. Simultaneous conversion of livestock and poultry and land used for raising feed and fodder within the same unit should be a preferred approach. As I said, when we start a livestock farm under organic systems, we have to take care of two things. It's fodder and the animals. When we want to start an organic livestock farm, we cannot directly jump into organic livestock rearing. First thing we have to take is we have to be sure of the organic feed first. In case of sheep and goat, fodder is required. When we say fodder, it has to be certified fodder. When we want to go for certification fodder, that fodder land also has to go under conversion period. Usually for crops, it is 3 years conversion. That means the land used for growing these fodders should be devoid of any residues of pesticides or fertilizers in that land. To eliminate all the pesticides and fertilizers from that land, a period of 3 years is required to convert this land into organic land. The fodder produced in this land after the conversion period of 3 years only is called organic fodder. This fodder has to be fed to our animals. So first thing we have to look into is feed production. If I am starting my farm, first I have to start my fodder unit, get it certified. Then once my fodder is organic, then I have to start my sheep and goat farm by feeding this certified feed and fodder. That is the crucial requirement. For crops, this is not the case. For organic crop production, once they convert their land, they can go for organic crop production and all. But in case of livestock, this is the major maybe hurdle for people to not get involved into organic livestock production, because the period involved is initially huge. But because of this problem, we have given some relaxation to this. If the certifying agency is convinced that the land in which this fodder is produced, if it is free from, if it is a virgin land, earlier there were no crops in that land and all, if they are convinced that it is virgin land, crop produced after 1 year, the fodder produced in that land after 1 year can be considered as organic, and this can be fed to your organic animals. So if the fodder production area is devoid of any residues, after 1 year, this fodder can be fed to your animals, so that within 1 year we can start our animal organic livestock farm, organic sheep and goat farm. As I said, the conversion period shall be determined by the accreditation certification body, and the conversion period shall be accounted from the day of registration itself. As I said, conversion periods. In case where the land and livestock and poultry conversion to organic status is not simultaneous, and the land alone has reached the organic status, and the livestock and poultry form a non-organic source is introduced, these must be read according to the guidelines for at least the following compliances. Each species has its own conversion period. In case of bovines, including buffaloes, if they are reared for meat purpose, they have to undergo conversion period of minimum 12 months, and 1/3 of their lifespan should be spent in the organic management systems. These two criteria should be met. If the cows are reared for meat purpose, the conversion period is 6 months. When they are brought in as soon as they are weaned and less than 6 months old. If they are brought at 6 months, less than 6 months age, minimum period of 6 months they have to undergo conversion. If they are reared for milk production, the conversion period is 6 months again. In our case, for sheep and goat, if they are reared for meat production, the conversion period is 6 months. That means once we start feeding our sheep and goat with organically certified feed, after 6 months only, our animals are called as organic animals. During this interim period, they are still not organic. They are still under conversion period. In case of PGS certification, we can use PGS green certificate, green logo on our produce during this 6-month period. In case of NPOP certification, we are not supposed to use any logo. But in case of PGS certifications, as I said, during conversion period, we can use PGS green logo on our produce. Once we have completed our conversion period, we can go for PGS organic logo on our product. If they are reared for milk purpose, again it is 6 months. Again for pig, it is 6 months. Small mammals such as rabbit, they are reared for meat production from the 2nd week after their birth to entire lifespan as determined by the accreditation body. In case of poultry, if they are reared for milk production from the 2nd day, that means 2nd day of hatching, till their entire life, till they are slaughtered, they have to be under organic production systems. If they are reared for egg production, minimum of 6 months, 6 weeks of conversion period, they have to undergo. Coming to crucial feeding, as I said, this becomes the crucial part in organic livestock production, especially sheep and goat. When we talk, when we start our sheep and goat farm, they have to be fed with 100% certified organic feed and fodder. However, in the initial stages, farmers may not be acclimatized to these production systems and all. If the certifying agency is convinced that availability is impossible, 100% organic production is not possible, then they can allow, initial 1 year, they can allow up to 15 to 20% of feed from other sources. Though they are not organic, they should also be from a field where no pesticides or fertilizers are used. Though that can be used in the initial 1 year, up to the level of 15 to 20. Are you clear in this? First year accreditation body can permit up to 15 to 20% of non-certified organic feed. Organic but non-certified is allowed in the first year up to 15 to 20%. But from 2nd year onwards, invariably, we have to go for 100% certified organic feed. In feed, the use of synthetic growth promoter substances, synthetic appetizers, preservatives, coloring agents, urea, animal byproducts for ruminants, solvent extracted oil cakes, pure amino acids, genetically engineered organisms, such things are not at all allowed in organic feeding. The land for fodder production should be certified before proceeding for animal certification, as I said. When we want to start our farm, we have to start with our organic fodder production unit first. However, as I said, fodder from the land after first year of conversion can be permitted with consent of the certifying agency if they are satisfied that the land where the fodder is grown is virgin. Coming to healthcare systems, this as veterinarians, this is very crucial for all of us. We are the deciding authority what kind of healthcare system to be followed in the organic livestock production, especially sheep and goat units. The producer, in consultation with veterinarian, should draw a program of health management of the animals. Veterinarian should specify what are the healthcare managements that are to be followed in that particular farm. With his consent only, the certifying agency will agree. If the farmer says the certifying agency will not agree, it has to be through the mouth, through the paper, through written documentation of a veterinarian only. The farm should have an established system of detection of subclinical, sick or injured animals, and if so detected, must be treated immediately. When I say treated, it has to be as per the approved norms. The paramount interest in case of sickness would be animal welfare and mitigating the pain and suffering. And hence, the producer shall not withhold medication, even if the use of such medication will cause the animal to lose its organic status. What I mean by this is, as we said in the previous slides, you are not supposed to use antibiotics. You are not supposed to use other genetically modified methods. So what it means is, if an animal is suffering from some illness, the first preference should be given to treat that animal with traditional methods, either Ayurvedic method or homeopathic method or traditional methods, using herbal methods or so on and so forth. In case these methods are not sufficient to cure that animal, we should not see that the animal dies. We should not see it to die. What we can do is, we can use all the allopathic drugs to save its life. But using these allopathic medication and all may debar this animal from its organic status, but that should not deter us from saving this animal. So first priority is to save the animal by first following the traditional methods of treatment. If they are not sufficient to treat this animal, we can go for allopathic treatment as well. We should not be worried whether this animal loses its organic status or not, but the first priority should be to save the animal from the disease. And regarding vaccinations, we have huge doubts whether we can go for vaccination in case of organic production and all. Vaccines, as required by the law of the land, are absolutely allowed. If a particular state says that these are all the vaccines that are mandatory in the state to prevent contamination, to prevent spread of the diseases and all, absolutely those vaccines are allowed in the organic production systems. Herbal, but the case is vaccinations using genetically engineered organisms are not allowed again. Normal vaccines are always allowed as stipulated by that particular state. And coming to herbal or phytotherapeutic or homeopathic or Ayurvedic products shall be preferred to allopathic veterinary drugs or antibiotics, as I said in the previous slide itself. In case alternative therapeutic or preventive measures are unlikely to be effective in combating illness or injury, as I said, allopathic veterinary drugs or antibiotics may be used under the responsibility and supervision of a veterinarian. When an antibiotic is used, when an allopathic method of treatment is used in a farm, it has to be invariably certified by a veterinarian who is looking after that farm. Without his consent, he is not supposed to use any allopathic medication in his farm. Everything has to be documented and signed by the concerned veterinarian. So, as I said, allopathic drugs can be used in essential conditions, but the withdrawal period should be double the normal withdrawal period. Coming to breeding and management, we discussed it already. Breeds and strains most suited to local conditions should be preferred, but this does not debar other breeds to be reared. Natural methods of reproduction should be allowed, though AI is allowed, but preference should be given to natural reproduction. Embryo transfer techniques or hormonal techniques are not permitted except under therapeutic purpose. Again, if it is essential to go for embryo transfer, this has to be specifically justified by the local veterinarian, unless it is not, otherwise it is not allowed. Breeding techniques employing genetic engineering shall not be followed. And very neglected and very crucial parameter in organic livestock production is manure and urine excreta management. This is most neglected and most crucial thing. When inspection agencies, their representative comes, most of the times we fail in this particular thing, because all these days the disposal of manure and urine, we do not give much emphasis on these disposals. But in organic guidelines, very specific criteria are given for the disposal of manure and urine from the farm. The criteria should, it is like, it should minimize soil and water degradation when we dispose them. The special area should be designated for their disposal, and it should be clearly marked. It has to be geotagged where we are disposing and all. It has to be geotagged, and how much manure is being produced also to be recorded. They may even see your manure pit, and they may put so many questions. So we have to be very careful as far as manure disposal and urine disposal is concerned. It should not significantly contribute to contamination of water nearby, because if we inadvertently if we dispose this manure, it may contaminate the local bodies, local water bodies and all. If that is found, certifying agency may disqualify your farm. They may not issue your certification. So it should be taken care properly. It should optimize the recycling of nutrients. It should not include burying or any practice inconsistent with organic practices. All manure storage and handling facilities should be properly designed to prevent contamination of groundwater. This is very crucial. If they get a doubt, they can take even groundwater samples to see whether there is any seepage of these contaminants from your manure pits and urine disposal areas. Manure application rates shall be at the level that do not contribute to groundwater contamination. This manure has to be again applied to your fodder production unit. The application rates are also to be optimal. You have to take the help of a agronomist to determine how much quantity of manure to be applied. If there is over application in enthusiasm, some people may enthusiastically apply more quantity of manure. This will lead to contamination of groundwater sometimes. So optimum quantity of application to be designed in consultation with an agronomist for a fodder production. Coming to transportation of animals in organic systems. Sometimes when we produce our animals, we have to take them to far-off places for their slaughter. So they have to be transported. All these transportation guidelines as per the standard guidelines under animal welfare norms. There are these are directly applicable under animal welfare conditions. These are not specific to organic itself. These are all for general transport conditions. During transport, the producer shall prevent stress, injury, or hunger, thirst, malnutrition, fear, distress, etc. during transportation. Minimize the length of journey to the extent possible. An animal must be fit for the intended journey. The journey period specified for each species of animals should be followed. And the specified resting areas, resting time has to be given. Means of transport as well as the loading and unloading facilities should be properly designed. These are all general conditions for transport. They have to be strictly followed. And in general transportation, we don't record anything. But in this particular organic production systems, everything has to be recorded. How many animals are transported? What are the kind of transport used? How many kilometers it has traveled? What was the space given to each animal? They have to be invariably recorded and shown to the certifying agency. Personnel that handle the animal during transportation, they have to be trained. Training records also have to be, these many people were engaged during transportation. They were given orientation about animal care and all. Everything has to be recorded. Animals must be checked regularly during transit. Sufficient floor area has to be given as per the standards for each species. Watering and feeding, resting arrangements have to be made as per the species requirements. Use of electrical stimulation or allopathic tranquilizers during transportation are strictly not allowed. Coming to slaughter, once they are transported to slaughter facilities, slaughter norms also apply again. General slaughter norms are all other. In case of slaughter, we don't have specific slaughterhouses for organic production, organic animal slaughter. If there are specific slaughterhouses established, that is well and good. But otherwise, regular slaughterhouses can also be used, but there should be distinction from regular slaughter to organic slaughter, either on a different day or during a different period of the day. It has to be specifically mentioned how you are distinguishing between regular slaughter and your organic animal slaughter. It has to be recorded and noted down in your records. let us say I have slaughtered these animals after the regular slaughter has been completed. I have completely sanitized the slaughter area with the sanitizers that are allowed under slaughter norms. After sanitizing, then we have to slaughter our animals. We have to specifically mention if there is separate slaughterhouse designated for your organic animals, it is well and good. If not, regular slaughterhouse can also be used, as I said, but there has to be distinction between these two slaughters. And the slaughtered animals, the carcasses also have to be separated from the regular carcasses. They have to be labeled and distinguishedly, they have to be separated from the regular carcasses. The guidelines laid for slaughter facilities, slaughter procedures, and hygiene norms should be strictly followed. The lairage area used, the slaughter procedure followed, whether you are using halal slaughter or you are using traditional slaughter, whether you are using stunning or whatever process you are following for slaughter, it has to be invariably recorded and mentioned in your records. Coming to all this, we have discussed the norms to be followed, standards. These are all, I mean, overview of the standards I have given. There are under each standard, there are pages of minute details given under organic standard. The standards are available on APIDA website. They can be taken and you can go through those standards. What we have discussed, or superficially, these are the standards. Now, inspection and certification process. How this inspection and certification process goes? Once a farmer wants to go for organic farming, what is the procedure he has to go through? As I said, there are two different systems of certification in India. One is NPOP systems, National Program for Organic Production. The other thing is PGS system, Participatory Guarantee System. And there are different certifying agencies for each program. NPOP, there are certifying agencies. Under PGS system, we have regional councils at local level. Regional councils, they guide the farmers in forming the groups and going for self-certification. And each has its own advantages over the other. And if somebody wants to go for wider market access, and if somebody wants to export their products, invariably they have to go for NPOP system of certification. The PGS system is not allowed, not accepted for export. Only PGS system certification is allowed to be marketed within India. If somebody wants to produce, get certified and export their products, invariably he has to be certified under NPOP. Other thing is, if an individual farmer is there, generally PGS system encourages a group of farmers, a group of minimum of 5 farmers coming together and going for certification. If a single farmer wants to go for certification, he is advised to go for NPOP certification, because PGS system, though it is allowed, maybe first 2 years is allowed, by second year he has to farm a group of minimum 5 farmers, then he has to continue his farming, and otherwise individually is not allowed to go for certification. That is the difference between these. Each has its own advantage. PGS system, when we say PGS system, documentation is little less cumbersome compared to your NPOP system. Farmers who are very illiterate, or they do not know the basic record maintenance and all, they are also eligible to go for PGS certification, because they can write the records in local language. All the local languages are allowed. RCs, regional councils, will guide them in keeping minimum records possible. So PGS system is poor farmer, individual farmer group friendly. Whereas NPOP is specific. Those who are aggressive into market, those who want to go for exports and all, they are advised to go for NPOP certification. What is the process involved in accreditation of farm? First, these accreditation agencies, they receive the application from the farmer, those who are interested to go for organic certification. After receiving application, they provide the standards to the operator. In organic systems, farmer is called as an operator. So they provide the standards. If I want to go for organic livestock certification or sheep production, they give standards that are applicable to sheep. So farmer has to go through these standards. They agree. There will be an agreement between the farmer and the accreditation agency. Under NPOP system, they have different fee structures. They have to have an agreement on the fee structures. Then document, the farmer has to outline his production systems, how many animals he's going to put in his farm, what is the acreage of fodder production, and all the documents he has to go submit it to the accreditation agency. They audit these documents in the initial stage. Then after auditing, if they are all okay, they will come for the field inspection of the farm. And they see the risk involved in this farm. Risk assessment is done by the field inspector. They see whether they are complying with all the standards and all or not. After they visit, then they report these compliances of the farm to the agency. The certifying agency review the report. If the certifying agency is satisfied that all the norms are being followed, all the standards are as per norms, then they decide to issue the certificate to this particular farmer. This is the entire procedure. If they are not satisfied, they'll ask the farmer to improvise the systems. Once he shows that he has improved, then again they'll inspect. Then if they are satisfied, they'll give the certification. This is the entire system followed for accreditations, getting the certification. First, farmer has to approach the certifying agency. They'll inspect. Then if they are satisfied, they'll give you the certification. What I said is for NPOP system. Under PGS system, what is PGS system is? It is a quality assurance initiative that is locally relevant, emphasize the participation of stakeholders, that is farmers, local farmers, including producers and consumers, and operate outside the frame of third-party certification. Nobody from third party comes and inspects your farm. It is you, the group, the peer reviewing is done within the group. They certify themselves. PGS is a process in which people of similar situations, that is producers, they assess, inspect, and verify the production practices of each other and collectively declare the entire holding of the group as organic. You see the difference. In the first system, under NPOP system, the third party comes and inspects your farm. They certify you if you are following all the norms. In this PGS system, third party does not come and inspect. It is within the group. Some people, you have to form some groups. These people will go and inspect each farm. They collectively decide and say that we are following all the norms, and they certify it. They certify their compliance to the regional council available in the area. If the regional council is not satisfied with their certification, then they'll go and inspect your farm. Generally, the farmer should not allow any lacunae in their certification, in their production practices. So these are the differences between NPOP certification and PGS certification. Guiding principles in PGS certification, the participation of each and every farmer is very crucial because it's a group involved. All the farmers have a similar kind of vision. There is transparency in production systems. Each farmer should allow all the other farmers to come and inspect his farm, and even consumers can also go and inspect their farms. There should be trust between the producer and the consumer. There is horizontally, there is no leader or something. In the group, everybody is equal. And all the farmers, those who are going for PGS production, PGS certification, it is networked. Each regional council available in the area, they are connected to the zonal councils. Those zonal councils are connected to the NCOF. So completely it is networked. Everything is online. It is dynamic. As I have given in my initial slides, even today's data we can see on the PGS website. How many farmers are there state-wise, each district-wise, we can see who are all the farmers involved, who are all the farmers who are producing the details on a dynamic basis, day-to-day basis, they are available online. So people can see their production systems, who is producing what at national levels, everything is nationally networked. Under PGS system, as I said, National Advisory Committee of PGS, NAC, what we call, this is the supreme body. They oversee all the production systems under PGS system in India. NCOF, National Center for Organic Farming, is the PGS secretariat. In case of NPOP certification, APIDO is the secretariat for accreditation. Under NCOF, there are different zonal councils. There are 9 zonal councils spread over the entire country. Under each zonal councils in each state, there are different regional councils. Now we have, earlier we used to have more than 150 regional councils. Now the number has been reduced to bring in more accountability. Now we have 50 to 55 regional councils available. Under these regional councils, the farmer groups, local groups, what we call, they function. Each farmer group have minimum of 5 farmers in each group we have. This is the entire hierarchical structure under PGS certification. Local groups, that is farmer groups under PGS system. Minimum size is 5 farmers. 5 members from same village or adjacent villages with continuous terrain have to be in the group. In the group, when we form a group of 5 members or more, no single member should have more than 50% of total area, total farm capacity. In case of sheep and goat, total number should not be more than 50% for a single farmer in a group. They should have at least 2 to 4 meetings in a year. All the members of the group should meet at least 2 to 4 times. Every member of the group should attend at least 50% of the meetings conducted in a year. This is mandatory. They have to sign in the proceedings of the meeting. Each farm to appraise at least twice in a year by 2-member team. As I said, this is a peer appraisal. That means if a group has 10 members or 15 members, they form different groups. A group of at least 2 members should visit each and every farm at least twice in a year and be satisfied that all the standards are being followed. No third party comes and inspects. You have to follow all the norms and they have to certify. And after inspection and appraisal, they have to, as a combined group, they have to submit peer appraisal summary to the regional council promptly after the inspection is done. A peer appraisal is done. Based on this, regional council can issue transaction certificate and the certification to the concerned groups. This group, the beauty is each individual farmer can have his own transaction certificate. But in a group, if there is an inspection, if there is any doubt, if there is any doubt at the level of regional council or even at the level of a consumer, if somebody complains, if one farmer in a group is found to be guilty, if he is not following organic standards, the certification for the entire group will be cancelled. So each and every farmer should be actively involved to see that every farmer follows all the standards. Even if one farmer defaults, the certification of the entire group will be cancelled. So this is the collective responsibility of the entire farmer group to see that all the farmers follow all the standards. In case of PGS, individual farmer also can be certified, but it is discouraged. Even if it is certified, he has to pay fees to the regional council, and within 2 years, within the second year, he has to form his own group. Otherwise, he is not allowed to function as an individual farmer. As I said, once PGS certification is done, once farmers are enrolled for certification, during conversion period, in case of sheep and goat, for the initial 6 months period, they can use PGS green logo in their produce. If they have completed their conversion period, that is after 6 months, they can use PGS organic logo along with Jaivik Bharat. They have to invariably register with FSSAI certification. They have to register their produce with FSSAI, and along with PGS India logo, they have to use Jaivik Bharat logo also. In some cases, the product may be a combination of different ingredients. In case of mixed or processed product, in a mixed product, if the ingredients from organic source, certified organic source are 95% or above, then they are allowed to use organic logo. If the ingredients from organic source are between 70 to 95%, they are not supposed to use organic logo, but they can put in their label that these products are made with PGS organic ingredients. They are not supposed to use logo, but they can put this phrase, made with PGS organic ingredients. If the level of inclusion of certified organic ingredients in a mixture is less than 70%, then they are not supposed to use organic logo or organic claim on their produce. And these logos should accompany the unique ID of each farmer, so that if somebody wants to know from which farm it came, that logo, if we cross-check with the PGS website, it should identify the farmer from which it came. this unique ID also should be printed along with this logo. If they are certified with NPOP system, there is no conversion logo, but once they are completely organic, they can use India Organic logo along with Jaivik Bharat logo as specified by FSSAI. And once this India Organic logo is there on their produce, they are entitled even to export their produce as organic to other countries. This is all about certification process and all. As I said, there were no certified organic farms in India as per NPOP certification. The guidelines were a little bit difficult to follow. After revision of these standards under NPOP system, we at NRCM, we have taken the lead to establish a small unit of sheep farm following all the standards what we have specified in the standards. We have got in collaboration with our sister concern, the sister institute ICAR CREDA, we have earmarked an area for organic production, organic fodder production. We have gone for organic fodder conversion for 3 years. Before going for organic livestock production, we have gone for organic fodder production. We have converted that land for organic fodder for 3 years. After 3 years of certificate conversion, our fodder was certified organic. And after 3rd year, we started our organic sheep unit. This sheep unit is fed with the organic fodder that is produced in the organically certified fodder unit. After feeding this for 6 months, we got it certified through accredited certifying agency. And that is the first certificate produced in India as per NPOP revised standards. After that, now we see people are coming forward. There are many number of dairy farms, many number of sheep and goat farms, many number of poultry farms coming up for organic certification. As I said, the number is increasing day by day. And 2019-20, 2021, the number is almost 100% increase. This was our organic fodder production unit. With this fodder, we have produced our organic sheep. Then it was inspected by one inspection agency. In initial years, there were no inspection agencies also for this. With difficulty, 2 accreditation agencies came forward to take accreditation for livestock certification. Now we see there are almost 30 to 35 accreditation agencies for certification of crop products. But for organic production, initially there were none. There were only 2 in the year 2017. They came. We also helped them to frame the guidelines. We worked mutually. We got the inspection done, and the certification was issued in the year 2017 for the first time. This is the first organic sheep certificate under NPOP certification in India, issued through our Director General Dr. Mahapatra in the year 2017. This is the certification. This is our organic fodder was certified by some organic certifying agency based at Bangalore, that is Aditi Organic Certifying Agency. Then our organic sheep was certified by OneSet International, that is based at Jaipur. Now we have converted all our sheep. We have got for this certification for consecutive 4 years. We have recorded some data on this. This year, we have slaughtered the animals. We have studied the slaughter parameters, meat quality parameters, their residue levels. We are still going with fatty acid estimation to compare with the regular meat, whether fatty acid profile of organically certified meat is any different from these units and all. We are still studying on that. After 4 years of certification with Deccani sheep, this year we are going with Nellore brown breed. This is also local to this area, Telangana area. We have generated data on organic Deccani sheep. Now we are starting our organic Nellore brown unit. It is yet to be certified. Probably the animals are under quarantine. Once the quarantine period is over, we will go for their conversion. Then again for regular certification, it will be followed as per the norms. Coming to what are the issues in livestock production, why it has not picked up all these years, why only now it is picking up. The major concern is, unlike crop certification, organic livestock certification includes double certification. That is, you have to first certify your fodder area. Your fodder has to be certified. Based on that fodder, you have to certify your organic livestock, sheep and goat. That is the major concern for organic livestock. Unlike in crops, only one certification is required for them, but for livestock, we need a double certification. And availability of organically certified feed, because I want to not only feed the fodder, I want to go for concentrate feeding and all. I don't have certified organic concentrate feed available in the market. I have to grow my maize, I have to grow my concentrate ingredients, I have to harvest them, I have to make my own feed. This is a cumbersome process. Unless this industry grows, availability of organically certified feed is an issue for us. We have to depend mostly on our fodders, organic forage itself. That is a major concern. And as we are all veterinarians, the healthcare system should mostly rely on Ayurvedic treatment and homeopathic treatment. But most of us, we are not well versed with the Ayurvedic treatment and all. And this is the time we have to focus on Ayurvedic treatment, the methods. Mostly medicine departments of different veterinary colleges have to come up with standards and standard procedures for different diseases and all. As for Ayurvedic treatment procedures, homeopathic treatment procedures, they have to be standardized and popularized. This is a concern for most of us. As I said, tagging is an issue, because once the tags are lost, again we have to go through the process of entire retagging, their uploading and all. This is a concern now. Slaughter and processing facilities are very few available, because exclusive slaughterhouses for organic are not available in India now. Maybe once the production systems improve, maybe we will have some exclusive slaughterhouses for this. But right now we have to use the regular slaughterhouses. When we use regular slaughterhouses, the separation is an issue. We have to follow strict norms for separation of regular slaughter and organic slaughter. And there is huge challenge from false organic claims. If I follow all the norms, if I go for certification, I take all the trouble. In spite of all the troubles, there are products in the market available claiming that they are organic. They claim the same price, higher price, and they are huge competition for us. Spurious products are available in the market. They have to be checked. We have to make people aware that certification is a process involved in identifying the genuine producers. And this needs a huge awareness programs to educate both the producers and the consumers. And the cost of certification is also an issue, because if you go for NPOP certification, it costs somewhere around 50,000 to 1 lakh or 2 lakhs based on your flock size and all. Maybe for PGS certification, the cost is negligible, but for those people who go for NPOP certification, for small holders, it will be a concern. Probably government has to, it is still thinking, government is also thinking to incentivize the certifications costs and all to the farmers, but this is a concern for us. Initially, we need to establish some few demonstration units under at least government setup, so that farmers can come and see the procedure followed for farming and certification procedures for organic livestock production. This is to be taken up on a priority basis to educate the farmers on organic production systems. At producer level, the concerns are they are not aware what is certification, what is production standards and all, because these standards are standardized just 2-3 years back. So we have to ourselves educate ourselves first, then we have to educate the farmers about the standards and certification process. And lack of training facilities for farmers as well as the consumers, they are a need of the hour. Then the farm holdings are very small for our farmers. So a small farmer going for NPOP certification is a big problem. So they have to come as a group and go for PGS certification. That is the process involved in this. Output marketing is also an issue. So when we go for all this process involved in organic production, at the end of the day, we have to sell it at a premium price. And we have to find markets for that. If we also sell at a normal price, there is no point in going for organic certification and all, because we are incurring some cost in production systems, recording and all. We will be incurring some costs. So to realize these costs and all, we invariably have to go for a premium price And if the premium price is not available in the immediate market, that is a concern. So we have to find proper markets for organic produce. Organic feed availability, as I said, is a concern because concentrate, organic certified concentrate feed is nowhere available. So somebody has to take up this organic feed production, and it has to come into the market so that the farmers can directly buy this certified feed from the suppliers. Lack of financial support to the smallholder farmers is an issue. Probably in the initial stages when farmers are not fully acquainted with organic production systems and all, the yields are likely to be less in the initial years. They have to cope with this less yield during the initial periods. So this is a concern for the farmers. And as I said, we have to face huge competition for the spurious products available in the market. So they are also selling at the same price and we have to compete with them. That is a concern for the genuine farmers. Challenges in marketing. Even in supermarkets and all, people still buy organic products unknowingly, even if they don't see the logo or not. Without logo also, some people say they are organic and all. There has to be awareness creation program for consumers as well, to see for logo, certification logo, to see for its genuinity and all this. We need a lot of awareness programs for this. Even in spite of all this, when a consumer goes to market, he sees the price. If organic products are priced at a premium price, general tendency is for they avoid higher price, they go for lower priced regular products. That is a concern. And even in the organic markets also, these organic products being less fast moving, they are not fast moving. So the retail stores people also, they demand huge margins for these products because they are not fast moving. So these products have to give a higher margin to the retail sellers. So this is a concern at marketing level. Storage methods are also expensive because of these preservatives are all not allowed during preservation of these organic products. So the cost of preservation of these products is also high. Supply demand disparity is huge because as we see in crop production, there is a huge export market for organic vegetables and fruits, but the production is very less. So we have to see the demand in the external market and the domestic market. Accordingly, we have to produce the product in our farms. And initially, probably we need to have government support for organic livestock farmers. Now, after the establishment of separate ministry for organic, separate ministry for animal husbandry and fisheries, government is contemplating very good programs for organic livestock production. We are also advising the governments to go give some incentives to the farmers in terms of certification costs, some incentives in terms of inputs and all. Probably government will come up with more incentives to the farmers who go for organic livestock production in the days to come. So what are all the entrepreneurial and employment opportunities available in organic livestock production systems? At all levels, from production through certification and consumption of organic products, there are different opportunities available. Some farmers, as such, as I said, livestock production itself is an entrepreneurial opportunity. Let me make it very clear that this is not advisable for all the farmers. This has to be a niche area. Only a few farmers who are really interested, really passionate about organic livestock production and all, they only should come forward initially. The farmers who are sure of their market, they only are encouraged to go for this organic livestock production. Unless there is no market, I personally don't encourage people to go for an organic livestock production if there is no market for them. So this has to be a niche area. This is not suggested for everybody. Those people who have passion for it, people who have market for it, they are encouraged to go for this organic livestock production. As I said, organic feed is not available in the market. So some people can take up organic feed production and their marketing. Some certification agencies itself is a big opportunity. Some people, more and more people can take up accreditation for certification. They can do certification process and all. Inspection executives, mostly veterinarians are involved in inspections because other people, they are not familiar with organic livestock production and all. So these certification agencies, they employ veterinarians as certification inspection executives. So there is huge opportunity for veterinarians to go for inspection of the farms and all. Some advisors are also required because in the PGS system there are advisory agencies available. In NPOP systems and the production livestock production systems also there are chances for advisory agencies. Very crucially, Ayurvedic and homeopathic healthcare systems. Veterinarians, most of us, though we are little bit educated on our Ayurvedic and homeopathic healthcare systems, probably there is huge scope for people who are familiar with Ayurvedic treatment processes and homeopathic treatment processes, because this is the system allowed for treatment under organic systems. So there is huge demand. There will be huge demand for people who are familiar with organic Ayurvedic healthcare procedures and all. Again, quality testing agencies for organic produce like meat. If it is organically produced, so if somebody has a doubt, they'll send these samples for testing. So testing agencies are also an opportunity for people who want to go for organic meat and meat products. That is an opportunity. Marketing opportunities for organic produce is a huge opportunity. Wide growing market is coming up in organic livestock sector. From wholesale to retail chain management is an excellent opportunity coming up in the days to come. People who go for export of organic livestock products also, there is a market opening up for that. These are all the different employment opportunities available in organic livestock sector. Government is also vigorously promoting organic production systems. As you see, this present government is bringing up so many programs to encourage farmers to grow organic produce. Under Paramparagat Krishi Vikas Yojana, this is exclusively to encourage people to take up organic production under PGS. Under this system, government is waiving off all the certification charges, and initial inputs are given for input supplies are also provided to the farmers under PKVY. People who are really interested, please take advantage of PKVY program in your particular state and your particular district. Approach your nearest regional councils and take guidance from them, because huge support is given on a cluster basis. If a group of farmers wants to go for organic certifications, huge incentives are given to the farmers under this PKVY system. All the certification charges are waived in this. And additionally, for almost 3 to 5 years, they are given input subsidies, input supplies are given to these farmers who go for organic production. And again, for exclusively for northeastern region, because in northeastern region, the penetration of pesticides and fertilizers is very minimal. So government is vigorously encouraging people in northeastern region to go for organic production. So there is separate mission for that. Mission Organic Value Chain Development in northeastern region is a special program for the northeastern region. Under the Rashtriya Krishi Vikas Yojana, RKVY, also government is encouraging organic production. Mission for Integrated Development of Horticulture, government is encouraging horticulture organic production under this program. There is a network project on organic farming under ICAR. Under this program also, there is huge awareness programs being created and models created for the farmers to take up organic livestock organic farming as such. This is all these days it is looking after organic crop production itself. Probably in the days to come, we will encourage people to take up organic livestock farming also under network project. And under Namami Gange project, Government of India is encouraging people adjacent to Ganges, Ganga River, entire Ganges belt. People are encouraged to take up organic production, either crop production or livestock production in the entire belt. These are all the different programs under Government of India to encourage organic crop production as well as livestock production. So this is all about organic production systems, especially for livestock productions. The production systems for sheep and goat are all similar for all the species. Specific to sheep and goat, my views are people who are really interested to go for organic sheep and goat production, please have your order ready before you go for organic sheep and goat production. Once your order is ready, start your farm, then find your market, meat market, then only you start your farm. And there is, I can assure you, the government is going to support this organic livestock farming in a huge way in the days to come. So people may take up this livestock farming to benefit themselves and take better profits from this sector. Thank you. Thank you very much.